Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics
Folks, welcome to
Done
one more
Right.
edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard. Who came into the chat first today? Let's see. AVQ, El Senor Michael Rudden from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome, Michael Rudden. Welcome, Yvette Avery Herod, numero dos, in the chat from Atlanta, Georgia. We have Patrick Magner. He puts two in there, not meow, but two. Magner is from Houston, Texas. We got Paravet Anid came in with meow as well. All right. Lita Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Welcome aboard. And in the chat, G Baird, greetings, my home. And I represent Cypress, now Orleans and Lafayette, Louisiana, a retired longtime talk show caller and controlling my addiction. G Baird, well, you called into my show. I think you called me spineless. You know, I love you, though. I don't take offense to that because I understand where you're coming from. You should give us a call. Tell our afternoon audience why Egberto Willies is spineless. Give him a call, 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. Also, welcome aboard Ernie Boxall, Rox Style, Patricia Postel, Deborah Sichel, Wendy Bussar. Hello, she's from Santa Cruz, California, I believe. Arlene Fucillo, Kathy Walker. Welcome aboard, folks. Love to have you here. Let's see. Peggy Palmer Johnson and Patricia. How are you guys doing? Eric is in the house from Kingwood, Atascocita, and so is Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. I think I've got everybody mentioned. We got a great show for you today. Title of the show is, in fact, let me put it on the screen, right? Let's put it on the screen. 4 Oregon Democrats failed. You know, there was a bill, and I don't know fully about the story, but the reason I'm bringing this story to you guys is because I want to show you the problem with Democrats and why lower class MAGA can exist. All right. It seems we got a caller in the beginning. How you doing, my dear brother Rabkins? How you doing, brother?
How you doing, brother? Okay, I'm not behind. So, if the other brother does want to call in, I'm just holding space right now. But I did, miss calling in. I've been a little busy and preoccupied, and I've been catching the shows like on the back end. So yeah, man.
I hope you're not too frustrated, man. Remember, anytime you have issues, let's get together, folks. This is a family team, and we don't, if some of us get down, we lift each other up. Anyway, talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, bro. I don't know when you down, but I might take you up on that cup of coffee. I have to take it as Winston Wolfe says, lots of sugar, because that.
Hey, you tell me. I'll come. We'll meet somewhere midway and have some coffee. Okay.
Yeah, brother. I'll text you on your back end on your other phone. But yeah, I heard the brother when he said, you was spineless. I won't say that I necessarily agree, but I think we had a similar conversation like that, if I recall.
Yes,
and I didn't go so far as to say you was spineless. I just said that, these people, that was a bridge. I was like, wow, if anything, it was courageous, but I said to myself, Go ahead. Real quick, I want to say, why do you torture yourself every day? You came to this country, for the greatness and the freedom, and you could easily just, do like everybody else and say, you know what? Bye. I'm not dealing with any of these trolls. If you're not on board with the program, you don't get a say, But I've heard you cut people when they lie.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, if they lied, I cut them. But here's the thing, okay? You're correct. I don't have to do this, right? This is what I dedicated my life to. Let me just say this, folks, okay? And I'm not, this is not a pat on the back, but this is the truth. I lost 90% of my income doing this, okay? And I am now no longer where I was even close. Let me just tell you that. So I did this because constantly telling myself, why don't somebody do something about this? And when you look in the mirror, you say, well, you have all these technical abilities. Do it. My wife isn't too happy. She had to go back to work for insurance and so forth. But guess what? It's for the better cause, people. So I take it. And look, what I say as well is if you can't take it, get out of the kitchen. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. I can take it. I also, when you knocked me, I understood where you're coming from. When Brother G Beard knocked me, I understand where he's coming from. He's like, damn it, Egberto, haven't we been through enough? Why are you going to take that? I get it. But somebody has to be there to be the bridge. Okay. So I get it, G. And G, you don't call yourself too aggressive to call in. Don't fall into the stereotype. Call to hell in. Damn it. Look, again, anyway, look, I got a lot to put out there today, brother. Anything else you want to tell me before I move on, sir?
Yeah. To your point, I still say I appreciate what you do, Egberto, and you give everybody a safe space, even when they don't deserve it. It kind of reminds me of that old, even though I don't agree with his politics anymore, that guy who used to host that show on Discovery Channel, Dirty Jobs.
Yeah,
and I feel like what you're doing is a dirty job, but like you say, somebody's got to do it.
Somebody got to do it, brother. Somebody got to do it. And you know what? Let me tell you, I've got faith. I've got faith that enough of us doing this kind of work, it doesn't have to be everybody, enough of us doing this kind of a work will make a difference. That's what, and I feel that from the depths of my heart. Enough of us doing this job will make a difference. And I've seen it work sometimes. But anyway, we arrange sometimes to have some coffee, dude. Maybe we bring G Beard along with us. Hey, G, you heard that? You're in Cyprus. You're not all that far. So we may the three of us may sit down and have some coffee. Let both of you, put some steel in my spine. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, my buddy. Take care. Have a good one. All right, folks. We are going to have a good show. We are going to have a great show. Who else just came in? Maywood from Long Beach, California is in the house. Anthony Lefranco from Laguna Beach. Thank you for being here, Anthony. I remember we were to do something. I can't remember what it is now. Something with marketing, I believe. I don't remember. But anyhow, E2247 is in the house. Our resident hater, Mike Cisak, is in the house from Missouri. Lee Grant from Montgomery County is in the house. Harry Denson from Missouri City. Welcome aboard, Harry. Love to have everybody here. Let's see. By the way, we also have David Corriveau. A lot of folks. I can't get to all the names. Several dozens, folks. Actually, we're up into the hundreds now. All right, let's go ahead and, I didn't load all this stuff. You remember when Donald Trump, or rather when kind of tripped a little bit. Biden tripped a little bit, and it was big national news. Anybody remember that? I think you do. Well, didn't we just see Donald Trump trip, and it was like it came and it went. Talking about bias in the media, I want to show you this, and then we'll take it on the other side. And because I'm going to show this just for equity, let's do that.
The video of Donald Trump stumbling as he went up the stairs yesterday to Air Force One. That's the thing Donald Trump doesn't want you to see more than any other video that could possibly occupy your television screen tonight. The video of Donald Trump stumbling as he went up the stairs yesterday to Air Force One. That's the thing Donald Trump doesn't want you to see more than any other video that could possibly occupy your television screen tonight. The video of Donald Trump's.
So my question, why is it that we didn't see this stuff all over the place? Tell me. Remember that? We didn't see that all over the place as it was when Biden slipped. But there is good old Trump, and nobody does anything about it. All right, let's see. Michael says Reuters. Sweden Greta Thunberg says she was kidnapped in international waters, Greta Thunberg on Tuesday accused Israel of kidnapping her and her fellow pro-Palestinian activists in international waters, saying she declined to sign a document stating she entered the country illegally prior to being deported. Speaking in the arrival section of Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport after being dropped from Israel, the Swedish activist said she and her team had broken no laws and called for the immediate release of the activists still in Israel. You know, Israel gets away with committing genocide. Israel gets away with international crimes, everything, because they have the support of the United States. We should, in the long run, do something about that. Newsweek, LA protesters stomped by police on horseback as clashes escalate. The video has gone viral online amid escalating violence during protests against Trump's immigration. We look just like a third world country. That's what we look like. But it's sadder than that. It is much sadder than that. And what I want you guys to listen to is Eddie Glaude, one of my favorite professors on morality, social justice, economic justice, criminal justice, racial justice. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side. Eddie Glaude nailed it about a large percentage of Americans. He nailed it about the vision that others outside of the country thinks about us. But more importantly, he sees something that we better all see and try to mitigate sooner than later. Now, right now, this immigration issue, specifically what's occurring with all the raids that they're doing in LA that's causing disruption. We all know that this is part of the Trump distraction to screw most Americans, to screw MAGA, to screw poor people, to screw the middle class, to transfer their wealth to the wealthy. It's not that he hates the poor. It's not that he hates the middle class. It's worse. He doesn't really give a damn. He just wants to take monies from wherever he can to ensure that his class is taken care of. The wealthy class is taken care of. This has nothing to do with love or hate or anything like that. He is just a capitalist who will extract, who will take. And again, so immigration is an issue where he is able to work on. First, he gets you to hate the immigrants, or he gets a large percentage of Americans to hate the immigrants. And then he makes it okay to hunt them down, as Glaude is going to point out, like the Slave Act. Anyway, he's going to talk about that. But he makes it okay. This has been a slow indoctrination of the American people. First, hate that government can be the solution. Make one believe that government is inefficient, etc. Of course, it's not. Government is a lot more efficient than the private sector. They just can't admit that because of that magic word called profit. But they cannot admit that government is more efficient. They cannot admit it. And all the financial numbers that they put out are made with skewed data that one should understand. So government can never be more efficient than the private sector. The private sector can never be more efficient than the government. Now, the other thing, after they get you to lose confidence in government, they start to create demons. They create all those others that you need to learn how to hate, because you can only damage folks that you hate. During the slavery days, they made you feel that those other people, there was something about them. They're not like you. They're animals. They are the same thing that Israel does about the Palestinians. They're not like you. And if you start to believe they're less than you, if you think they're less than an animal, you don't have a problem harming them. So when you are raiding a school, or you're raiding a home and the kids are crying, Mom, I can't, you're taking my mom, you're taking my dad. Even as you love your own daughter, and that would have pained you as a dad, that would have pained you as a mother. You don't see it that way because you have been indoctrinated into looking at these other people as the other, less than people that it is okay to harm. You know, you can like a chicken while you're growing up, but you know you're going to eat that chicken later on. And when you kill that chicken, it's okay because it was a lesser being to you. And that is where we're at, folks. We have had a psychology that's been working to make sure and demonize that which gets us to the goal. Not us. The wealthy has been playing us to get their goals accomplished. So many have joined the fight on the side of the people who are going to screw them to get, they've joined on the side that is harming them. I want you to listen to Eddie Glaude here, and then we'll take it on the other side.
You were bursting as we were droning on.
No, I'm just thinking about what the country is primed to accept. There is the reality that Donald Trump is breaking every norm. He's extending the scope of executive power. We know that what he's doing is a spectacle for his base. All the talk of the fallout between him and Elon Musk, all the talk about the bad version of the big, beautiful bill, all the talk about the grift in the administration is now gone. So the people who were clamoring.
I led with it. It's not gone.
It's not gone. But what I'm saying though, is that is it the case that because this is happening, the cracks that we were noting last week and the week before, will that disappear now that they have their red meat? Now that they're going to see the spectacle of quote unquote LA on fire, which it's not, right? What will happen? Will he activate the ugliness that got him in office in the first place? Will folk now declare why they love him? Because we know that he's always good on the immigration question. And then the second thing, this reminds me historically of it's not a clear analogy, but when the nation, when these political factions divided the nation in between slaveholders and slave catchers, when they made everybody with the fugitive slave law, all of us had to, if someone escaped, all of us had to return that particular piece of property to these folk. With ICE running around LA, forcing people to make choices. Will they protect their friends, their neighbors, their family members? Will they confront these folk? And they're terrorized. You see people crying. You see babies crying. And these people come in here and do this shit. And what are they supposed to do? And then you just add the police into that? We know that the country's about to pop. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, excuse the cuss word, I'm sitting here trying to figure out, right, what will the country stomach? Are they going to allow this man to do this? And the answer that I keep coming to is yes.
Same.
I don't know what else to say. How can I? Here's the thing. Donald Trump, as a political charlatan of sorts, gives Americans license to be who they really are. They don't have to pretend. And when you see what they really are, who they really are, these people who support him, right? It's dark.
I guess my hope would be that, the people he's deporting, 9, 12, and 15% of all Americans support the deportation of men and women who've been here a long time, men and women who've had their children here, and men and women who have jobs. 9, 12, 15.
Right.
87% of Americans support deporting adjudicated violent criminals. That's not who he's picking up.
Right. But he's still picking them up. I think I've been in Paris. I've been in France for the last week. And I had this interesting conversation with this guy. He said, he's an older guy. And he says, when I was young, all that I ever wanted to do was to come to this country, to come to America. Everything about America was the place that I dreamed. Now my children don't want to have anything to do with that place. Right? So there's that reality. Then I fly back in last night and I'm hearing and I'm watching this in Charles de Gaulle before I get on the plane, and I get back here and I'm just wondering over and over again, right? What have we become? Because you can cite those numbers, but the world that we inhabit is that Tom Holman and others are terrorizing our communities, right? And it's happening, even though those numbers say that a lot of people disagree.
Eddie Glaude nails it. This is all true. A lot of it is a distraction that will be used over and over again. So we want to take your Medicaid. Hey, look at the immigrants. They're criminals and we're getting rid of them as we pass the budget on to destroy your Medicaid. You want to give a whole lot of bombs to Israel while there's complete. Hey, look at what those anti-Semites and those immigrants are doing. We need to arrest them. We need to throw them out of the country as we pass the bills to screw you. You want to get rid of regulations that throw crap into the ocean and throw crap into the rivers? Hey, look at DEI. Those people are getting their jobs. They're not deserving. DEI got them hired. They're not deserving as they mess with regulation to harm you. You see, they play you like a fiddle. If you're not aware of what's happening to you in real time, you are being played. And there's a large percentage of America and all of middle class and working class MAGA are being played. They're definitely being played. And, it is sad. It is sad. It is sad. Hey, let me tell you, Love gets it. Love gets it. Welcome aboard. Love says a lot of middlemen, when I talk about that there's no possible way the private sector can be more efficient than the government, She understands it, or Love, whatever. I don't know if you're male or female or in between or what, but Love gets it. A lot of middlemen with their hands out. Insurance company, a middleman with their hands out. Corporations, a middle thing with their hands up. Political parties, also corporation, privatize everything. It doesn't get cheaper by adding more salaries, bonuses that could go to the people doing the work. It is math. The idea that the private sector is more efficient has always been a fallacy that the Powell Manifesto taught you. They knew that they had to convince you to be dumb. They knew that in the 70s we were getting smarter. We were asking the major questions. Why do we have an economic system that rewards the ones who don't do the work? Why do we reward the ones with capital and not the ones with intellect? Why do we reward the one with capital and not the ones who do the work? But we are so indoctrinated to think that the billionaire and the millionaire is deserving that we even say we are greedy or we are envious for wanting what they have stolen from us. You see the crazy indoctrination that we have gone through over the existence of this country. The other kinds of things that we put out there, right? There are so many fallacies that when you look at it practically, you say, how could I have thought that? We hate the immigrants so much, the ones that are coming over here without their papers. All they're doing, all these immigrants that's been here for 10 years, working, doing all these things, building homes at a cheaper price, la comida, harvesting the fruit for all this time, being a part of this economy. They didn't come here to conquer. They came here to work, to make a better life. And then you have the settlers who came here. Not only did they came here to take the land, but in the process, they committed genocide. In other words, they threw our people who were originally here not to live amongst us, not to live with us, not to be saying we are going to partake the land, because the originals here didn't have the concept of land ownership. They were stewards of the land. And the mentality that the folks came here wasn't steward of the land, was we're taking the land and we're kicking your butt out. You don't like it, we kill you. And to process that land that we took from you, it was so much land. We couldn't do it. We just go to Africa and bring those people that can handle the sun. That melanin can handle that ultraviolet radiation pretty well. We can put that, we turn that human being into property and we run them like a machine. Let's be honest, people. This is not for anybody to sit back and feel bad or anything like that. It is just a reality. And when you accept reality, we can all live in harmony because we realize we're all human beings. We all want the same things. I want my kid to have a good life. You want your kid to have a good life. All these things are real. But they have to make you believe that those other people are coming to harm you when it is those people who harmed them. I always find it funny how they make you believe that, minorities and all these folks are more dangerous than anybody else. They're so dangerous that they allowed themselves to be enslaved. They're so dangerous that the ones that the cops killed the most are these people. When we learn to not fall for the indoctrination, all of us live in harmony. We're one people when we learn not to fall for the okie doke. The wealthy people are controlling your media. That is why that little video that I started with, Biden, that would be all over the place. With Donald Trump, not the case. When we have Eddie Glaude speak about, I fear that is who we are, there's one thing I would have changed with what Eddie Glaude said, and that's who they have made us, right? And it's not only one group of people that are indoctrinated, it's all the groups of people that are indoctrinated. So a message to my brother G. Beard. One of the reasons I take the tact that I take is as follows. It's not about appeasing. It's not about, I think the word that you used in there, my brother, is appease. It's not about appeasing or turning the cheek. I don't turn the cheek. If you slap me, I'm going to knock you out. Anybody who knows me, I've been an activist from the time I came to this country and went to the University of Texas. If you slap me, I don't turn the other cheek. I knock you to hell out. But at the same time, my heart is full of love for anybody who is willing to listen. And for somebody who cusses me out or whatever, words don't do anything to me. There's not a word you can call me that will get me upset. Nothing. There is nothing anybody can tell me. No air can vibrate out of your mouth that's going to change my stance, upsetting or anything. I remember one time, a quick joke. One of the folks that do radio with me was sitting here in my studio, and we're sitting here and somebody called in and they're like, N-word, 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 N-word. And this is a white guy sitting next to me and he froze. He didn't know what to do because somebody who called into the show really let me have it. And my answer to the guy was, I guess you're having a bad day. Let's talk about it. My buddy sat down. There was a little relief. He didn't know what to do. And then a few days later, he called me up and he said, Egberto, I really didn't know how to react. Is there some other way that I should react? And I'm like, I don't know how you should react. I don't know, but their words don't do anything to me. You give power to other people when you let their words affect you, right? And so other people's words don't affect me. But I tease with it. Like when my brother called me spineless, I tease it because I know what I'm doing, right? I'm not, I understand it, right? So it is okay. All right. Let's see what else we have. Let's see what we've got here. Well, look, my brother, I did my DNA too. That doesn't matter. Creole, none of that stuff matters, right? That is such a small part of your DNA. You're human, and all of us, whether you're white, black, Creole, anything, that the parts that make you Creole are the part that give you kinky hair or the part that give you blonde hair or blue eyes. That is some minor BS. That's a little part of you. So discount that crap. All right. Patricia Postel says, those that stay silent and don't oppose the hate or allowing bad behavior, they are afraid and don't have solutions. What is the solution? Beautiful, Patricia. I think what I'm doing, and you guys can correct me as much if you want, but I think I am wide open. In other words, I want to hear everybody. I'm wide open. And I believe that the solution is talking and letting folks, first of all, and letting folks know that we are all equivalent, equal. No, nobody can take that away from you. We're all the same. Nobody can take it. And you don't allow folks to scapegoat you. You don't allow folks to make you the other, or you don't make anybody else the other. And if you can do that, you can change a lot of folk. And that's what I'm into, changing a lot of folk. Nobody is the other. All right. Change the subject. The other one is debt. The people who have created America's debt is really Republican Party orthodoxy. I want you guys to listen to this, and then we will take it on the other side. This is a piece that I wanted to talk about last week, but with all that was happening, we had to really get some other stuff involved. But this is about our national debt. I'm not just talking about the deficit. Remember, the sum total of all the deficits over the years is what give us a national debt, which right now is at somewhere in the order of, I think, 30 trillion, several $1 trillion. But how did we get there? Here's the thing. Remember, when Clinton left office, we left with a balanced budget. They had some tax increases, so the deficit it was a balanced budget, no deficit, and we started to pay down the cumulative debt. All right, let's remember that. That was the trajectory that we were on. Bush comes in, a Republican comes in and reversed the whole thing by giving a huge tax cut. That tax cut ballooned the deficit, the budget deficit, and increased our debt. Then, of course, we did the irresponsible thing in lying ourselves into a war that cost us a lot of money. Steve Ratner, in this report that I'm going to show about the debt, didn't quite put that the expenditures for the Iraq war were huge, caused the problem. The expenditures for recovering from the supposedly the attack around the world to solve the terrorist problem, all of that was wasted money that we all paid for that was accumulated onto the deficit. Likewise, we had Donald Trump come in and he did two things to balloon the debt even more so than anybody else. The first thing is he gave that huge tax cut to the wealthy mostly. Yes, people got their deduction increased, etc. But most of the money went to the wealthy. The vast majority of the money went to the wealthy. But above and beyond that, his incompetence of dealing with COVID and allowing COVID to turn into a pandemic. What we had was something spreading that could have been mitigated. If we didn't stop people from wearing masks, if we didn't have the arguments on ivermectin, if we didn't have the argument of injecting stuff into your blood, if we didn't have the argument as far as keeping people at home in the beginning for 2 weeks, just saying, let's let this stuff burn out like they did in Australia, New Zealand, etc. Hold back. Just let people hold back for a minute. And every time you play whack-a-mole with the disease after that, right? For the things that slip through, you play whack-a-mole. There were countries who did that. There were countries who were so poor they couldn't afford the medicines. Panama is one of them. The people followed the rules. They wore the mask. They stayed home when they needed to stay home. And it never spread and killed people and cost the amount of money that it costs in the United States. So that budget deficit, all those incentives that we had to give for COVID, we would not have needed it if we didn't have an incompetent thug running the White House then. Then, of course, in 2008, under Obama, we had the big bank bailout, 2008, because of the incompetence of wealthy bankers who turned derivatives and credit default swaps and all these different financial instruments. They collapsed on themselves because these guys were creating money out of nothing, creating financial instruments because they thought they were so smart. Of course, they're not. But they thought they were so smart. So they created all these financial instruments and they turned things like mortgages, etc., into these commoditized instruments that they sold to people after the real estate market collapsed from their own doing. The Obama administration, starting with the Bush administration, then the Obama administration, bailed them out. So all of that went into the national debt again, because it ballooned the deficit and it was added to the national debt. So we had two humongous tax cuts, Bush and Trump. Then we had the complete horrendous handling of COVID that affected the entire world because of a neophyte thug in the White House that got a lot of people who should not have been killed from COVID because they allowed fallacies, they allowed misinformation, they allowed, it's simply ridiculous. Then, of course, again, the 2008 recovery, the budget bill. All the other stuff that they call increase in discretionary spending, etc. All this increase in discretionary spending that they always talk about, you need to keep discretionary spending expanding at the same rate of the economy. Hey, I agree with that. But why was discretionary spending not being able to pay for? Because you had all the damn tax cuts. So even as Steve Ratner in this piece that I'm going to play explains the truth, the thing that these economists, this capitalist economists refuse to talk about is that absent the tax cut, none of these things would have occurred. We would have had a balanced budget and we could have increased our discretionary spending as it should have been increased, right? Meaning Social Security and the Social Security isn't discretionary spending, but the other type of spending, we should have increased them because, again, there are new things that we want to get done in a society. Just tax the folks appropriately. We see the kind of taxation that we're given right now, how it has caused the millionaires and the billionaires to just keep multiplying their monies for producing nothing. They just get rich from being rich and they get richer from being richer. That's what's occurring right now. So the entire fault of the budget deficits, the big debt, not the deficit solely, but the big debt, is one, tax cuts by Republicans, Obama and Bush giving a whole bunch of money, TARP and all the others, to the bankers, and also, again, not taxing enough. Now, giving you that background, I want you to listen to Steve Ratner, but listen to it with the framing that I've just pointed out, because he's not going to tell you the complete picture as far as the debt. By the end of it, and looking at those charts, you should easily see that if we had, after Clinton left office with a balanced budget, had we followed the rules and taxed appropriately, handled COVID appropriately, and not allow bankers to do what they did with credit default swaps and all of that, have the appropriate regulations, and made sure that COVID and everything else was handled appropriately, we would have had a balanced budget and a booming economy, because we would not have had these thugs that we have in finance running our country. It would have been all of us collectively. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Steve, let's continue this conversation about the so-called Big Beautiful Bill and its impact on the national debt.
But let's take a look at what the bill as it was written in the House would actually do. First of all, it's important to note that we're already, as I think everybody knows, starting with a really large deficit. Our deficit is almost $2 trillion right now. While it's projected to go down slightly, it would otherwise then keep climbing up to about between $2 and $2.5 trillion. That's if we do nothing. The Big Beautiful Bill, you can look at two ways. As it is written, it would do this, so it would have the budget deficit still higher than we have. But there are a bunch of gimmicks in there in terms of making things expire that aren't really going to end up expiring. And so I think the real way to look at this Big Beautiful Bill is it would take the deficit out to $3 trillion in 2035. And that becomes a huge amount. And then you see what it does to the debt. So right now we're sitting here with $37 trillion of debt compared to a GDP. The whole size of our economy is only $30 trillion, meaning our debt is bigger than our economy. That's the only other time this has happened was in World War II. So we're starting with a huge debt load. And then no matter really what you do, because the deficit stays high, no matter what you do, the Big Beautiful Bill makes it worse. You could end up out here with $55 trillion of debt. So the debt growing faster than the economy, this becomes unsustainable. And this is what the deficit hawks are really focused on.
What are the risks to a debt that is larger than the economy?
Well, what you've seen happen in the last few weeks as this bill has been moving through Congress is periodic spurts of interest rates moving up. The federal government has to sell this debt periodically. It rolls over, it matures, they have to go out in the market and sell it. And the risk is that we pay higher and higher interest rates for our debt. And that in turn, as we'll look at in a few charts, squeezes out other kinds of spending and puts inordinate pressure on our debt and forces some really, really unpleasant things. At some point, reversing tax cuts when the market says it's enough. We're not going to keep financing these kinds of deficits. It's really a burden we're leaving to our children and our grandchildren. And that is an incredibly selfish act that we're doing.
All right. Speaking of tax cuts, let's look to your second chart. These are, in your words, absolutely massive tax cuts, dwarfing anything we saw from the first Trump administration.
Yeah. So this bill, again, there's a bunch of gimmicks in it. You can look at it as a $2.4 trillion bill. You can look at it as a $4 trillion increase to the deficit. But compare it to all the stuff we've done in the last few years. The bipartisan infrastructure law looks puny compared to this. The rescue plan, half the size of this. The CARES Act, which was Trump's COVID rescue plan, $1.7 trillion. And here, Trump's signature tax bill from his first administration, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, $1.5 trillion. So compared to his last tax cut, we're talking about something that is massively different. Why is it so big? He wants to extend all the tax cuts that were set to expire in the last bill. This was the gimmick in the last bill. They use these gimmicks to make these bills look smaller because then they come back and extend the tax, increase the standard deduction, increase the child tax cut. And then these are a bunch of campaign promises that Trump made sort of out of nowhere in states and in places where it would be politically advantageous. No tax on overtime, no tax on car loan interest, no tax on tips and so forth. They want to increase defense spending. He promised no taxes on Social Security for seniors. You can't do that through this process, but he came up with a workaround to basically provide the same thing. And then there are the cuts. And this is what Elon Musk is on about, rescinding the IRA climate funds. This is the EV tax credit in here. And these are the Medicaid cuts, $700 billion, which have not only gotten criticism from Democrats, but even Republicans like Josh Hawley, a very conservative Republican, has said this can't happen. And so, as we talked about in the last block, you've got people on both sides of this pushing in different directions, which is going to make this unbelievably difficult to get through the Senate. And then it has to go back to the House and be reconciled with the bill that they passed.
Let's go to your third chart. You say debt is difficult to tame.
Why did Elon Musk fail so spectacularly? The president had talked during the campaign about cutting $2 trillion. Elon talked about cutting $1 trillion. The final number is probably less than 150 billion, maybe 100 billion. And by the way, yes, people are dying because of that. That's been now well documented. But the reason it's so hard to cut is because so much of the budget is kind of off limits. Nobody wants to cut Medicare. Nobody wants to cut Social Security. You can't cut interest, obviously. People want to increase defense. Veterans benefits, probably not. Food stamps, maybe a little bit, something there. And then, of course, you have the Medicaid piece down here. But everything else that's left out of a $7 trillion budget is only about $1 trillion. You can't cut $2 trillion out of $1 trillion. You can't cut $1 trillion out of $1 trillion. And so that's why when Doge got in there, they found there really wasn't very much to do. But let's just say a word of what could have been, because we've now had 25 years of basic fiscal irresponsibility going back to the Bush tax cuts in 2001. And so if we had not increased discretionary spending faster than the economy, we could have increased it, just not as fast as we did. If we had not had all these tax bills, the Bush tax cuts and then the TCJA and so forth, the recession response, you could say we really had to do, but it costs a lot of money. But in any event, if we had not done this stuff, we still would have had a government that was growing, and we would have ended up in 2021 with essentially no debt. This was the missed opportunity. Now, because so much of the spending is constrained, now because we're paying so much interest, it's impossible to do something like this.
Well, look, I hope you attached the preamble of what I spoke about onto what Radner had to say to see the entire picture. There's one other thing that I want to point out. I remember Doge, that thing that was supposed to save a lot of money. We knew that it could not have worked. Doge was never there to save money. Doge was always there for these guys to get in there and take all our data. And God knows what they're going to do with our data. They have their servers in there. They're monitoring a whole lot of stuff. That's what Doge is there for. And by the way, and in the process, Elon Musk became what I call a virtual assassin, because with his irresponsible cutting of USAID and other policies, a lot of people died. And in fact, there's documentation that shows he has killed over 100,000 people by holding back all the work that USAID does. So much for the humane country, so much for the people who believe in the sanctity of life. They have come in and destroyed it. And with the bill that they want to pass now, and it's not only foreigners that are going to get killed, but Americans are going to be, what again? Murdered by their own government as these policies come into play. And we'll continue to talk about it. Yes, we will continue to talk about it, and we are going to write about it. I made my article that accompanied that last piece. I just shipped that article out today, and I'd like all of you to read it and share it, because while that is a video, I have all the corroborating information in the article that I wrote. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go find that article so that I can present it to you all. Because look, folks, we have to do this all on our own. The mainstream media is not going to do it for us. We need to do all this stuff on our own. So here is the article. I'm going to put it in both chats. That article don't only have the video in it, but it also has the corroborating information with the links to the different articles, the link to the different data that just shows what is really happening. You know, people always say, oh, you're lying, they're lying. No, we have the corroborating information in the blogs that I write alongside the thing. I'm tired of people blaming Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci doesn't need to be blamed for anything. He's a scientist. As data change, That's how we modify things. Anthony Fauci did what he has done. This is a guy who worked with AIDS. This is a guy who worked with a whole lot of infectious diseases and did just fine. Not until we got a bunch of dummies, and I say that from the depths of my heart with respect, not until we populated the federal government with dummies that Fauci became a problem. And now we first populated with dummies under the first administration. Now we have complete crackpots. Somebody running the education department that knows she was embarrassed yesterday on TV. She was embarrassed. She knows nothing about anything. She knows nothing about the formative years of this country. You should have seen the interview. A dumb woman who ran the WF or whatever it is they call. We are populated. We have a drunk woman beaten buffoon that hasn't a clue. And we have the HHS secretary who has a worm in his brain. That is what's running our country, folks. That is who's running our country. That is who's running our country. You guys have to get up. Yes, we have a lot of indoctrinated MAGA. Leave them alone. Don't hate on them. Understand that they're mentally incapacitated. It is a mental problem when that occurs, folks. It is a mental problem. If you have a family member, si tú tienes un hermano que tiene problema en el niño, if you have a brother, sister with a mental problem, you're not going to hate on them. You're going to say, well, they're sick. I am going to try to find the medicine to fix them. I'm going to try to find. I see quite a few sick people in our chat right now. I don't even, when they write, it's oblivious. Boom. And the reason why is to be that mentally incapacitated makes me wonder. And I just hope that some sort of seed is planted in some of these folks. Okay? I just hope some of this seed is planted in some of these folks. Anyway, folks, you can give me a call. Those are the 3 videos that I had for the program today. But I just put the link of the article that I wrote just before the show. Check it out, share it. It's an important article. Doctor. Again, under Obama, he understood what to do with Ebola. Deborah J. Again, science. The Ardain, the former leader in I think Australia or New Zealand. The women have made great leaders during this pandemic. Women were great leaders under the pandemic because those countries led by women did very well under the pandemic. It's amazing, isn't it? Does it tell you something? Does it tell you something? Anyway, telephone number 281-823-7747. Give me a call. Anybody can give me a call. 281-823-7747. I'm done with all the videos and I'm done with most of the material that I prepared for you guys today. In my progressive eyes, Obama was spineless. Obama's biggest mistake was getting rid of OFA. Obama for America was a powerful thing that everybody feared. I saw it. I was a part of OFA. Obama was scared of his own shadow of what he built. Let me just say that again. Obama feared what he built. And for that reason, he allowed the Democratic Party to immediately disband OFA. Michael Esprit. Come on in, Michael. How you doing, sir?
Whoa.
Talk to me.
Okay. I don't think I needed my first and last name out there like that.
Oh, forgive me. No, forgive me.
I'll play your game.
Yes, play my game.
I'll play your game. Beard, okay? Michael Esprit.
Okay.
There you go. You got me. That's your back, huh? Okay.
Oh, no, wait, hold on. No. Hold on.
Obama.
No, wait. I just need to say, I want to apologize. Please hold. Please.
No. You put my name out there. That's cool.
Jay, I didn't
That's
know
cool.
this.
Well, play your game. Look, I'm going to say that Obama, President Barack Obama, D-, he was spineless.
Okay.
In his first 2 years in office, he got Boy, I'm just mad because you called me by my name.
Brother, I didn't know it was. I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it was you, sir. Again, the thing came up on my screen.
Again, I'll go on. He got the Dixiecrat played him like a worm. Played him like a worm.
Okay.
Played him like his whole first term. He had more people. I believe in open borders. Okay, that's where I am when it comes to immigration.
Yeah.
Okay, come in, come out. Be like Europe. Be like the European Union. We can have one America. I believe in one America. Okay? That's where I'm coming from. You know, we didn't have secure borders. That's the way it was supposed to be. Because Americans, when they first, them Europeans, them English, them Spanish, them Spaniards, what they want to call them, they came over here. They didn't believe in no borders. You know, they believed in mattresses filled with Ebola and flu and yellow disease and whatever disease they could put on there.
Okay, what's the point you want to make, G?
He couldn't get things done. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not going to go much further than that because, you know, I'm advertising now. That's why I had to give up talk radio.
All right, listen. Okay, hold up and listen to me now. I listen to you. You listen to me now. All right. And here's the deal. When Obama came into power, the defense that I gave Obama was clear. There is a president and there is the presidency. And no one man, no president can really come in and just own the presidency. Notice the second thing that I said. I said the biggest... Sir, could you let me finish? I made you talk. Sir, I made you talk.
I can't realize that's what the Dixiecrat did.
Hey,
Come on, man.
Hey, listen to me. I made you speak. Let me speak, sir. All right. Secondly, I said the biggest mistake that Donald Trump made, and I meant Donald Trump, that Obama made, was to disband OFA. OFA was a group that he really ran OFA, and he could have had them do anything. Just the way Donald Trump has MAGA is how Obama had OFA. All right? I don't know if you remember those days. I was a part of OFA.
Who's that immigration person on TV that was the other day saying they're going to arrest the governor? He came in. He was under their Obama. Okay?
I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Okay? That's why I call people worms sometimes. They have no spine because they couldn't point these people out and get them out.
All right. Hey, let me tell you, G, here's the deal, G. Like I told our brother Ray, because I like to talk these things out. We're going for coffee soon. We'll get in touch. And by the way, I'm not going to the thing downtown for the rally.
Yeah,
I'm doing it here. I'm doing it here in Kingwood. I'm doing it here in Kingwood. So you can drive
tour to Kingwood in about 2 weeks. So
all right, we'll drive up to Kingwood to go get some coffee. We'll talk. Have a good one, brother. Peace.
All
right. Take care. Anyway, folks, anybody else want to call? 713, all right, rather 281-823-7747. 823-7747-281. Let's see. Oh, I think you upset Mark K. I think you upset my friend Marge K. Come on, G, stop it. Let's see what else we got here. Deborah says, I'm planning on not being in this country when the next viral disease becomes a pandemic. That may be a good idea. Maybe a good idea. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's see. Just like nobody has taken them serious when they have openly discussed a coming civil war for decades or longer. Yep, we got to listen to what people are saying. All right, Harry says, Egberto, the main reason, in my opinion, Donald Trump deployed the state National Guard in Los Angeles, California, and ignored the fact that Governor Gavin Newsom must consent to it, to state government involved when there is out of control violence in the streets, which there has been by peaceful protests. California and Gavin did not support convicted felon for it. Well, yeah, I get it. All right, guys, I'm going to read all your commentary. I'm going through both of the lists a little bit later. I want to thank you all for being here. Let's see what else I want to do. Here. Para ver. All right, folks, please support the program. And how do you support the program? You can support the program by becoming a paid subscriber. And how do you become a paid subscriber? You go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'm putting that in both of the chats right now. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And that is how we support all the different platforms that we're on. Anyway, folks, thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what?
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.